Watch this video to see how we generated $1 leads for a salon in Texas.
So I'm Luke.
I'm Naveen.
And we started a new department here at CTC called CTC Local. And really how CTC Local came about was out of the mission of Common Thread Collective, which is to help entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. And we saw an opportunity in this space for partnering with local businesses.
Yeah, so we pretty much saw that if we really want to help entrepreneurs achieve their dreams, we were doing a really good job of doing that on the e-commerce side of the business. We were partnering with brands in the e-commerce space, helping them to drive revenue and ultimately helping them to achieve whatever dreams that they had. But what we weren't doing really well is helping local businesses, local entrepreneurs to achieve their dreams. So we started this division, CTC Local, as a way to bring the same principles of media buying and digital advertising to those local entrepreneurs and ultimately to help them achieve their dreams.
Yeah, and what's interesting about how Common Thread Collective has grown over the years that we've been around is as we grow as an agency and as the clients we're partnering with become bigger and bigger and the ad spend increases proportionally, kind of the farther away we get from the entrepreneur, right? Instead of talking to the founder of this company, now we're on client calls with the marketing manager or the CMO. And this is not an issue. We believe that everyone is an entrepreneur of their own life. That's one of our values here at CTC. But what we saw was that in partnering with local businesses, we could be more face-to-face with the entrepreneur, and that's what we experienced even over the few weeks of starting this new department. That we're face-to-face with the entrepreneur, talking about their dreams and helping them to grow their business and get there. So, without further ado, let's talk about how we do it.
So, what do we do? Ultimately, CTC partners with brands that are trying to grow their businesses. And the best way to grow a business is to drive revenue. On the e-commerce side, driving revenue looks like helping somebody to sell something online. But on the local side, driving revenue looks a little bit different. You actually have to get the consumer from online to offline. And you have to get them to go into a store or a brick and mortar location to opt into whatever service you're offering. And so what we've done is we've taken the same principles that you use on the e-commerce side of digital advertising, and we've used those to generate interest around local businesses. And usually we do that with a 4-step process that we're going to talk about a little bit later in this video. But the bottom line to what we do is we help local businesses by establishing a customer acquisition funnel that's measurable and scalable.
Yeah, and so the two components of that, measurable and scalable, are really intentional, because if we don't know how much it's costing us to bring in one new customer, that lack of transparency ultimately doesn't lead to profitability in business or scalability, which brings to the second point, which is the scalable part of that customer acquisition funnel. And to be scalable, you really have to be profitable, right? We have to be bringing in and paying for customers at a profitable rate. So what we want to be able to do, and what we do with the brands that we partner with, is we're able to say, okay, this month we're going to spend this much on advertising. This is how many leads we're going to acquire. This is the conversion rate of those leads to in-store customers, and this is a value of one of those customers. And so from the top of the funnel to the bottom, we can see exactly what the return on the investment or the return on ad spend will be to acquire one new customer. And so it's really easy to set goals and say, all right, we want to get 30 new members in our gym. We want to get 50 new salon customers. We can go from that goal, backtrack, and know exactly how much we need to spend on advertising to achieve that in a profitable way.
Yeah. We saw that, especially in the lead gen space, there were a lot of people who would be like, okay, well, pay us this amount of money and we'll give you, we'll export and send you a list of leads when we're done with our process. And so what we wanted to do was really come alongside brands, create that funnel, and really look at things. I think the beauty of looking at things in a measurable way is it's very data driven. And so what you're doing with digital advertising becomes like a math equation. And you can see exactly how much you're putting in and exactly how much you're getting out at the end of the day.
Yeah. So to talk about the 4-step process that Naveen Amy was talking about earlier, we have a very process-oriented way about what we do, and of course, different industries, different brands, it's customized and nuanced. But basically, we boiled it down to 4 main steps. So the first of those is creating an offer. The second is generating your lead. The third is following up and converting that lead, and the fourth is optimizing. So let's start with offer. What's that step all about?
Yeah, so I think what we found works the best with digital advertising is presenting potential new customers with some kind of an offer. And that can look differently. I think we work with brands to figure out what's a good offer that makes sense, where there's incentive for the potential new customer, but it's also profitable from the business side. And so maybe that'll look like 20% off your first spa service, or maybe that'll look like a 2-week free trial for a gym, but presenting some kind of an incentive for somebody to go from online to offline and opt into whatever service you're offering.
Yeah. And so a lot of times what we'll do to hone in on the offer is we'll try to figure out who your best customer is, right? Yeah. And so we do a few different things to look at that. We'll look at the geographic area that customer is in. We don't want to be reaching 20 miles around your location if 90% of your core customers come from 3 miles around. It doesn't make any sense. So we're going to look at the geographic region, basic demographic criteria, age range, gender, income level, these sorts of things as well. And then we'll also layer on things like interest targeting, lookalike targeting to help Facebook optimize even further on who that best customer is. But the offer comes from honing in on who that best customer is. So who's the customer that's coming into the store? Who do we want to target, and what offer is going to be the most attractive to them? And we start from there. And so that's the first step, creating the offer. Step number 2 is generating the lead. And there's a few different ways to generate a lead. And just for clarity's sake, a lead is basically first name, last name, email and or phone number, and then of course any other information you want to get on that individual. But that's what we mean when we talk about a lead. First name, last name, email and or phone number is like the essential part of what a lead is. So there's a few different ways we generate leads, right?
Yeah.
What are some of them?
Yeah. So usually we'll start with kind of what Luke was talking about when we think about that best customer. So the next step is setting up campaigns and running ads to that best customer. So looking at where they live, what they're interested in, all of those different kinds of things, demographic targeting, geographic targeting, and then getting your offer in front of them. So we run campaigns on Facebook and on Google specifically to get our offer in front of potential new customers. And so that's kind of how we generate the lead. We present them with an offer that we think is going to be really compelling to them. Maybe it's 15% off a service, maybe it's a free trial, and then they pretty much opt in.
Yeah, and there's on-platform and off-platform landers that will utilize and generate leads based on what makes sense for that current that customer, that industry, the service type. So if it's a service that doesn't need a lot of education, for example, maybe we'll use on-platform lead forms on Facebook. It's the lowest barrier. You're not having a large drop-off rate from customers that are opening up those lead forms to filling them out. Fields auto-populate, but we also mess with custom fields just so we're not getting garbage emails or phone numbers. That's the way to get usually your cheapest lead. That's also high quality, but not kind of have these extra barriers of submitting to an offsite. Also use off-platform landers, so landing page on a website, whatever it may be. You can kind of tell more of a story, show more of your brand on that side, especially if you're driving Google traffic. That can make a lot of sense. So everyone from Facebook and Google is landing in the same place. Also things like instant experiences, canvas ads on Facebook are great ways to further qualify and educate that lead. But those are a few different levers that we'll pull in generating that lead. Okay, so we got the offer. We have generating the lead and the different platforms and kind of placements we use to acquire those. And the third step is following up. And Naveen, like you were saying, lead gen kind of has this stigma of, okay, here's your CSV list of download it, Excel spreadsheet, boom, here's all your leads, pay us $5K, we're done, we're out of here. But that's not what CTC is about, right? We're partnering with entrepreneurs and helping them to achieve their dreams. And so that means that we're responsible for the revenue that we're generating using your digital advertising spend, right? We need to be responsible to those results. And so in the local space, the way we want to do that is by creating up a follow-up flow that's effective. And there's a few different ways we do that.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So how do you get a customer from the top of the funnel all the way to the bottom of the funnel? So usually, when we start this process with a new client, we talk about their business and we understand and try to learn their business a little bit to figure out what kind of strategy is going to make the most sense. Oftentimes they already have pieces into place that make follow-up really easy. Maybe they have a call center that they're working with. And maybe they already have an email flow that they can just plug new potential customers into. So we talk to them to understand a little bit about what are you doing right now and how can we maybe partner with you and optimize your current process to make this as effective and as efficient as possible. Yeah. But what follow-up usually looks like, what we found has been best practices in the local space for follow-up is email follow-up and phone call follow-up. So usually they'll be dripped into like a 3 touch point email campaign to get them from lead to converted customer. And then we also do some kind of a phone follow-up. And so we'll work with clients to figure out what the best way to do that is. But we find that, if a lead can get contacted within the first 24 hours of when they submit their information, they have a much higher likelihood of converting into a new customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as follow-up goes, the more touch points that you have with a lead and an interested customer, the better. And so like Naveen was saying, the email follow-up, phone call follow-up, sometimes like text drip campaigns text also. Those are kind of the 3 main ones: email, phone, and text. And the more touch points you have with a lead, the higher rated conversion you have to that lead actually becoming a customer.
Right.
And so we've seen the best brands that we partner with having all of those 3 in place. You submit your info and right away you get an email, you get a text, and then within 10 minutes you get a phone call as well.
Yeah.
That person's much more likely to actually come in store from there.
Yeah.
And so the fourth step being to optimize.
Yeah.
We kind of drug everyone into this video so far with a clickbaity headline.
Really clickbaity.
And this was a lot of your genius on this side as far as the actual results and the sub $1 leads that we talked about.
Yes.
So maybe could you talk about how we achieve sub $1 leads and how optimizing was such an essential part of that?
Yeah. So I think a really important part of this whole process is optimizing your process. And so, you have your offer, you have the ads that you're running, and then you have your follow-up flow, and all 3 of those need to be optimized. And so there will be moments in this process where you circle back to the offer and you say, okay, can we adjust this offer to make it more enticing? Maybe the interest level around this offer isn't that good. What's a different offer we can kind of create to generate more interest? Same thing with the ads that you're running. How can we optimize creative? How can we optimize copy to make it more effective and more engaging so that when somebody sees your ad on their Facebook feed, they want to interact with it, right? And then how can you optimize that follow-up flow? How can you make email campaigns on the back end more effective? How can you make phone follow-up and what conversations you're having with leads over the phone more effective to really drive conversions so that people are getting from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel as in a way that's as easy as possible. And so optimizing is a really, really important part of this process.
Totally.
How did we do it to the point where we were getting $1 leads for the salon in Texas? Great question. So what we messed around with a lot with running campaigns, and you'll hear this on the e-com side all the time, but you hear test, right? And so we're constantly testing things to see what's more effective, what works the best, where are we getting the best results, kind of throw everything against the wall, see what sticks, and then run with that. And so for this salon that we were running campaigns for to generate future customers, that looked like testing different audiences. So we tested lookalike audiences, we tested broad geographic audiences, we tested interest-based audiences. We also tested placements. So we tried desktop, mobile, even different things like Facebook feed, IG story. So different placement testing, different demographic kind of testing. But ultimately what got us there was we ran It was a combination of a couple of things. It was one was creative, and then two, I think the other big thing was placement. And so the creative that we ended up using was a very like UGC looking Instagram creative. We took a still image, put some text on it on the Instagram app itself, and then we ran it in an IG story only placement. And so I think the combination of creative and placement, we were getting leads. I think campaign to date, it's still at about 94 cents a lead, which is pretty crazy.
Well, it's just insane because what Naveen's saying is it's so important as far as optimizing your campaign. So what we're doing is we're looking in the account and then we're saying, okay, we're running conversion campaigns to their offsite landing page against and A/B testing that against lead forms, which are on platform kind of landing pages. And so we're gonna look at those two campaigns. Boom, lead forms are outperforming offsite landing pages by getting leads at probably a fourth of the cost, right? A fourth or a fifth of the cost of offsite. Okay, from there, let's see what's working in lead forms. We're gonna break down by placement, see which creatives are performing the best, and we saw that IG stories were crushing compared to any other placement on platform. So we created, Naveen created native creative for IG story placements, dropped it in there, combined it with lead forms, which we had seen perform better than anything else, and our lead costs dropped by 1/12 of what we were getting a week or 10 days before even, and just like that, we were 10xing the results we had just previously been getting. So that's kind of how we do it, and that's what CTC Local is about. Thanks for finding out what local ad buying looks like right now and seeing how we're doing it.
Sorry for the clickbaity intro.
Not sorry. If you're a local business, we'd love to partner with you in creating your measurable and scalable customer acquisition funnel
and helping you to achieve your dreams.
That one too. See you guys later.
See ya.